Well, good afternoon, listeners. Thank you for listening to Lament of Hope podcast. And it's such a gift because I'm talking with Troye Evers right now. And you're going to see this screen, for those of you watching, probably, it's going to be audio as well on YouTube. I'm sorry, on Spotify and all that. So feel free to switch if you want to. But we both worked very hard and we couldn't get it to work for some reason. So if you think technology is going to save the world, you should give up on that idea. Anyway, I'm here with Troye, and I came across Troye because I was looking up interesting memoirs. I love to read about people's stories and just hear more about their lives. And I came across his memoir on Tourette's. And I've never interviewed anyone who has Tourette's. Now, my husband has Tourette's and OCD, and I've asked him before if he wanted to do an interview, and he was kind of like, no. So I thought, well, I would like to give my audience an opportunity to learn, to hear more about what life is like. And also, he's a behavioral therapist. He's written memoirs about his Tourette's, but also, he's living a full life. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And so I thought, it'd be great to have someone on who could talk about it. And Troye was willing to do that. So, Troye, thanks for coming on the podcast, even though this is kind of being unconventionally done right now.
I know. Thank you for having me. I feel like I want to kind of blame it on the full moon.
The full moon?
Yeah. Can't we just blame it on them? That seems right. But
yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm telling you.
For the listeners, it did take us a half an hour just to try and figure out the visual. And I don't know. The audio, but I don't know.
I know. No idea. That's okay. Well, anyway, Troye, before we start, I did want to ask you, why did you want to write a memoir? Because, it was interesting. I was looking up memoirs about Tourette's, and you were one of the few I came across. Maybe there was 2 others, and I don't know if my search wasn't good, but there was just no one talking about it. And so why did you want to write a memoir about it?
That is very spot on. So originally, I'm a special education teacher now, RBT. But originally I did hair for 20 years in New York City. And started kind of getting to a point of just being burnt out from doing hair and venturing on to new horizons. I started doing a little writing. I wrote a screenplay and passed it on to a couple friends, this being the first screenplay I ever wrote. And they were like, this is amazing. You need to keep on doing this, but write what you know. So I was like, okay, what do I know? I know myself. I know Tourette. So I wrote a screenplay called Tick, which ended up getting optioned about 4 times. And it won an third place in this international screenwriting competition out of 100,000 different screenplays. So I was very excited about that. But through the screenplay writing, I told myself I would never write a book. I don't have the patience. I don't have the writing stamina to do that. And I started doing a lot of work with the different Tourette Association, New York City chapter, and national. I also started volunteering at camp in Georgia, and another one up in upstate New York in Buffalo. Tickapalooza and Twitch and Shout. Twitch and Shout was Georgia. Tickapalooza is upstate New York. So I really started getting into the world and understanding it more and realizing that there was not a lot of knowledge, books, educational materials on Tourette. But there was a lot of doctor written or professional. And the way I saw it, and the way a lot of people who I talked to saw it, is that is what they have learned and what they think they know, but that's not really about how we feel, like a person feels who is trapped in this syndrome. So I started playing around with ideas and like, maybe I'll write a book. What could I do? And I was like, I don't want to hear just one person's story. I want like everybody is different. Everybody has their own story. Um, I think I think it's I'm like I've got the book here in my hands. I think it's chapter 5. It was maybe it was Twiz. This is chapter. I got to look it up. I'll look while I'm talking. But who said it's like a snowflake. Tourette syndrome is like a snowflake. Not any person or anything. If you have Tourette, it's not the same as anybody else's, and that's true. Like we have different tics, we have different underlying disorders. So I wanted to write something that showed the variety and how everybody is different, and it's not going to be the same case in every situation. I just found a chapter 9 quiz. Um, so, um, so I did. I started reaching out to like through the association, through Facebook chat rooms and everything. And I was up near like about 50 people who I had started the interview process with.
Hmm.
Um, from that interview process, I like the first round, I narrowed it down to somewhere like around 25. Um, and what did I do? So we did the first. I sent out a questionnaire. Now, mind you, this book was written in 2008. Um, yeah, I started writing it like 2008, 9. Um, so even the technology that we have now isn't as um, there was definitely a big jump from what we had or what we have now to what we had back then. Just in um, you know, typing and transcribing. If I did it now, I feel like it would have been so much easier. But I sent out a questionnaire to the 25 people and wanted them to really fill out the questions. It had like about 20 questions in depth. From there, I narrowed it down maybe to 20 people. Um, those people I had meetings with, like either a phone conversation or in person if they were anywhere near me. So then that was just me writing everything that they were saying down. Um, and then that narrowed it down. Um, that did narrow it down to 18. And then at that point, I sent out recorders. So, like I said, like this is not the technology of today where I could have just said, oh, voice record yourself on your phone and send it to me. And it was hard back then. the file would have been way too big. But yeah, I sent actual recorders out and had the people walk around for a week, um, telling me about their a day in the life of Ben, what they were doing, what they were feeling, what um, underlying disorders they had, how did their um, Tourette affect their love life, just everything and anything, just talking to this recorder. Um, and then I sat there and transcribed all of those recorders. Um, like I said, I originally had 18 people. Um, the last person that I had sent me their recorder, and it was just, it was unusable. Um,
Mm.
she was fighting with her boyfriend the whole time. I was just like, and I was finishing the book at this point. She was like the last one that I was doing, and I was in a basement um, on Martha's Vineyard, my friend's house. I just locked myself in there for the summer, finishing the book and listening to this woman fight with her boyfriend on the tape. And I was just like, I can't use this. Um, so it left me with 17 um, people in the book. And then with my OCD, I hated that because it's just not an even number. Um, but I had to deal with it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was it. Like there were not a lot of books out there. Um, every book that you saw out there was by a medical professional. And I thought it was just, sorry, but spewing medical information, um, and not really telling you how the actual person feels, and what is actually going on in a day in their life.
No, I think and that's the thing, and that's something that even watching my husband, navigate this while we were dating and then when we got married and just the different reactions people would have and most people like they're really nice. Like it's not like people are mean to him. It was just they would always ask like are you okay? What's the matter? Because there might be because my husband experienced like full body tics. So they're like they'll brace really quickly or um his eyes will shut really fast and then he'll like be pressing it's like it causes a lot of body pain because you're causing your muscles to tense so much and so most people will just ask are you okay and then he'll just say no yeah no worries it's Tourette's syndrome I'm okay um but it was always interesting to me because and then people get embarrassed that they asked and then they would just kind of try to move on from the topic and um I just yeah, I was surprised 'cause some people I knew didn't know what he meant, but they just didn't wanna bring it up again, so they just didn't. And then for other people, they were embarrassed and they wanted to move on. But I always I have anxiety, so whenever generalized anxiety, and so when people ask me, if I was having a panic attack, I try to explain it to people. And so I would always try to, so people could try to understand and see a little deeper than just what they're seeing. And so I kind of wished that, and still do that, people would ask more questions because I think that would help with just getting to understand a little bit more about why someone's experiencing this really major tic and or why they we say OCD a lot, just like, oh, I'm OCD. But really, I mean, OCD is very different than just saying it. You know what I mean? Like, just because you fixate on something for a certain period of time doesn't make it OCD. That's not the only thing. And um, it's really interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I think in the world of Tourette, there are a lot of misconceptions. Um, also when you say, or like when I have Tourette, Oh, really? I don't hear any swearing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
I'm like,
true.
give me another drink, you might hear it, but that's just because I've got a bad mouth. But um, it's a lot of people, you know, early on really just related it to, the swearing disorder. When in fact, it's only 10% of the people who have Tourette have paraplegia, uh, which is actually um, part of what makes or what gives you kind of the swearing. Uh, Now, I mean, I have had the swearing part at different times. Eh, yeah. What are we a G rated, or are we? How are we on this podcast?
No, you can be, I mean, you can be honest. Like, it's different if you were just cursing at me for fun. I wouldn't like that.
So, but yeah, I mean, so I had one peanut butter fucker. So it was so much fun to get in a cab in New York City and like, oh yeah, 95th Street and Fifth Avenue peanut butter fucker.
Oh,
No,
no.
no, sorry. Just keep on going. Sorry, I have Tourette. Just ignore me. Yeah, it's all right. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of misconceptions. You've got everybody thinking it's the swearing disorder. Um, you're also, you say Tourette syndrome. So when you're talking about syndrome, you're talking about something that has a lot of underlying disorders. So
Yeah.
along with Tourette, when you have Tourette syndrome, you've got the many, many underlying disorders of OCD, anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, um, ADHD, just uh, a lot. So when you start building that snowflake that I discussed earlier, you've got one person who might have no OCD, but high anxiety disorder. You've got another person who has no um, or has anxiety disorder and OCD, uh, but really hardly, maybe just a blink tick. And then you've got this one person who's got full body tics and no underlying disorder. It's a snowflake.
Well, that's good that you say that because I wanted to ask you, I was recently interviewing someone who had, autism. And it was funny. She found out she had autism when she was in her 40s, and her son found out when he was a toddler. And she was talking about like how their autisms are so different, but everyone, usually it's a stereotype that you have, and I've had it about people with autism. And so then, you kind of think it's all the same. And she was telling me like all of these differences, like in emotional regulation and how she handles big emotions and so forth. But I wanted to ask you, like, what does yours look like day to day? Because, like, just to give you a picture from my husband, he'll have some really good days and then he'll have harder days. And you can't always know why it's happening for a particular reason, but stress is always an aggravator of anything. So for him, depending on how stressed he is, and then he has a lot of full body tics, or he'll have tics with his eyes where he presses in really like he's closing them very hard. Or he'll do things in numbers with the tics because you can't just do one specific, you have to do a certain amount of tics to complete, even though it's painful, and it's like another thing for him a lot of times is if he does something wrong or he perceives he's done something wrong, then he has to tick. It's like a almost a self-soothing regulation. Um or for him it's like whispering under his breath at times, repeating a word someone has said, and he just feels like he has to repeat it again really quietly. Um
Into the carpalilla, like the repeating and
yes.
that.
He doesn't have the swearing one, which is a good thing, I think. I think that'd be really hard for him.
That's a very small percentage of the 10% of the people who have.
Yes, exactly. And so those are the big things for him. And like those are and the muscle tension and spasms, and that's the biggest thing for how it shows to other people. So I wanted to ask, like, for in a day of your life, what does Tourette syndrome look like?
Well, right there. You have a lot of throat clearing. And I mean, you were discussing that it's like um, some good days, some bad days. That is what Tourette is. It waxes and wanes. So you could have good days, you could have bad days, you could have good months than bad months. It's how it's going up and down, how it's waxing and waning. Um, uh, right now, I'm I'm older. I think I have.
I don't think that's just a Tourette's thing. I think we all get older.
Well, yeah. No, I like to say that like I've conquered uh, the. Let's see this. I've conquered the manipulation of my kids.
Mm.
So, in other words, like I can sit here and have a conversation with you, and like just my shoulders are moving, and I'm just in the conversation, but like I've ticked um, every 5 seconds, and it's just the casual like it looks like I'm just very much in the conversation, and very
Yes, yes, I know what you mean.
emotional,
Yeah.
and I can easily in my conversation throw in a quick throat clearing, and I'm good. I am happy. I'm happy that the cameras or the audio didn't work correctly. So,
I know, look at that.
so
Actually,
the
maybe it's a good thing.
so the camera isn't working because of all that stress, and I'm just like ticking away behind this black camera now. Uh, my neck is going. Yeah, it's very much neck twitching, shoulder twitching, throat clearing, um, and talking about it and hearing other people talk about theirs or you talking about your husband's are all triggers too.
Yeah.
Like it's um, it's like a yawn. It's contagious to another ticker.
I know, that's why I didn't understand why they have Tourette's camps, for kids and stuff. I don't understand that. I'm like, how is that helpful? Like, that would just be increasing pain all the time.
Um, I mean, increasing pain, but there's also just a comfortability of just letting go and not holding in any of them. Like just letting go and really, truly being yourself. It's loud.
But do you actually think it's helpful?
Oh yes, yeah. I volunteered at um, both of those camps for um, like 6 years, and I loved it. Um, it is just really um, eye opening and um, freeing.
Hmm. Okay.
But I mean, like I said, it's loud, but it was everybody was just ticking away and screaming. And,
No, I guess if I was wondering because I was thinking if you're ticking more because you're seeing other people tick, wouldn't that cause a lot of body pain, so discomfort? But you're saying it actually the emotional part of it kind of over.
Yeah. There's not always pain.
Okay.
Um like my neck twitches, ticks and shoulder ticks were never painful. It was annoying. Um every once in a while, just the way the tick was, I pinched some nerve that shot from my like upper scalp to lower back, just this heat pain and brief like paralyzing moments.
Okay.
Uh, but that's like I have not done that in years. Um, it did happen a lot more when I was younger, when I was ticking a lot more. Uh, I think as you grow, like as you age, like at least for me, it calms down a little bit. Um, or maybe I'm just like living with it and not noticing. Um, but but yeah, I mean, as for the camps, I think it's a great thing. That's actually so. My first book was A Day in the Life of Tourette Syndrome, the biography of the 17 different people all over the country with Tourette and their story. My second book is Camp Peanut Butter. Um, a little shout out to my um, little campers, and a shout out to my peanut butter chocolate chip. But Camp Peanut Butter is a little fiction, and it's a boy who gets diagnosed with Tourette and doesn't know how to um, cope with it. His parents find a camp that for kids with Tourette's, and the book is really written as a journal. Like there's just daily journal entries. But he goes to this camp and like meets a bunch of new friends and starts understanding himself more and being able to cope more and just like truly understand himself and understand what he's going
Can I ask what um like do you find what I don't know how to put this. So when I have a panic attack, right? I typically don't like um my recourse is to kind of recoil and I like to be by myself. But a lot of times that makes it worse. Because I'm just constantly thinking about how I feel. Um and so I wanted to ask like and that's something I still try to navigate even with my husband. It's like in the moments when it's really bad, should I bring attention to it? Is that something and it's something I still kind of just go back and forth on, and I know a lot of times, like you said, if everything's very different, like everyone is different and has their own way, maybe it would be encouraging to someone and encouraging not encouraging to someone else, but annoying. But I've always kind of wondered, like, how to or what would be encouraging to a person in a moment when they're having a really bad tick day, you know?
through.
Um,
See that again comes down to the actual person.
yeah.
Uh,
Okay. What's encouraging for you?
actual person and actual moment. Like I know there have been uh, times where I've had a tick attack, where I'm just like a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, something, and um, like I'm just ticking like crazy and um, like just unable to stop. Uh, and I think it is like, I mean, for me, it's separating myself from whatever situation. Now, it might not be the actual stressor, like the situation that I'm in might not be the stressor of it, but it is continuing that stress. So me walking away, just taking a walk, focusing on breathing. Like I said, I'm a special education teacher. So, I mean, right now, my class, I'm a transition teacher. So my students are 18 to 22, but I've been in the autism classrooms for um, 11, 12 years. So it's very much same. It's like um, when we're escalating in any sort of behavior, it's trying to separate from the situation and work on our coping skills, work on like what's going to calm us down. And each person is not going to be the same. Whatever works for one person is not going to work for another.
Right.
Uh, that like for me, it's not. I think it is just focusing on something and just trying to bring whatever that anxiety is down. Breathing, um, a couple stretches, just sitting in my own thoughts for a moment to bring everything down.
This might be a weird question, but um, do you ever, is there anything ever about having Tourette's that you are actually grateful for? Because I know for me, with anxiety, I went through this period because I would have such bad panic attacks. I would throw up, I would feel like I was going to pass out, my heart would race, and I'm in a much better place now. But I remember that intense year, and I remember just thinking, I just don't like, I felt very lesser than other people. And I just continually thought to myself, there can't possibly be anything good about this. And sometimes I would get into these moods of just constantly thinking about what's the point? Like it was just torment. That's what I felt like. And I think as it's gone on, I've had people ask me or people have said, um, does it go away? That kind of thing. And I think they're good questions, but I in myself, I don't think it's going to, I don't think I'll never have anxiety. That would be great, but there's a lot of trauma factors that have contributed to mine. So I think the more that the trauma heals, it'll get less severe, but I don't think it'll ever really just go away. I'd love that. Um, but over time, there have been moments where I've actually felt like it's been a gift. Like I've been able to talk with people, and there have been times, even in the moment, when someone's having a panic attack, and it's like, I know what they're going through, or I find that my empathy for people and what they're struggling with is greater because I understand to an extent what pain is like, even if I don't know their particular pain. And so I've wondered, like, for you, have you had anything similar in that way, or do you find that it's not really something you think about too often? I know it's kind of a strange question, but I just wondered.
No, it's not strange at all. I think there are two things that I'm um, grateful for from this. I mean, number one is the actual diagnosis,
Hmm.
because I got I um, I got diagnosed later, a little later in life. I mean, like 19, but like having tics since sixth grade.
Wow.
Um, I had a doctor tell my parents it was allergies. Uh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. That's not nice.
yeah, no, like, but it's like what? No,
What's he allergic to? Air?
like my head twitching, my neck flinging around. Um, I even, from my neck blinging, in the back of my neck, I um, started getting a lump when I was in like seventh or eighth grade. Um, yeah. And went to the doctor and got like, I remember all these different tests and I was like freaking out that it was a tumor or something, but that's probably just my, you know, anxiety. Um, and like, I don't remember anything being figured out from it. Just like, oh, yeah, it's just a lump. Like, okay. Do you think it has anything to do with me flinging my neck around like I am? Just it just seemed like nobody could ever give answers. So, um, and besides that, like having so my underlying disorders as a child was oppositional defiant, anxiety disorder, OCD, ADHD. Um, probably more. I'm going to leave it at those. Those are the fun top five or top four. Um, but um, I think once I got the diagnosis, and then at 18, 19, and then doing my own research into it, um, it was a big relief that, oh no, I'm not crazy. I don't have this weird flinging of my neck thing and OCD and anxiety disorder and ADHD and blah 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 blah. No, I have Tourette syndrome.
Hmm.
Like I have this one thing, and this is all part of it. This is I just got I just got this thing that has a package deal. Um, so and then I think the second thing this is this is going to sound very weird, but anybody in my life, um, and anybody who's in my life who's going to listen to this knows exactly what I'm talking about. Um, I love my OCD.
Yeah. What do you love about it?
I mean, my apartment is very neat. Uh, I know where everything is. If somebody comes over and moves something, they're no longer my friend.
For real?
No, I'm kidding about that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
like,
Yeah.
if you move something an inch up, like I could walk out of the room and then walk back in the room. I'm like, why'd you move my sofa? Why you moved it? It's an inch over. What'd you do? Why?
I have the
Um,
same thing with cleaning. It's awful.
yeah, always cleaning. It's clean. My um, my
No,
classroom is. Everybody comes into my classroom and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so organized. You're so on top of it." And then they like move my desk over. I'm like, "Okay, can you please get out? What's going on?" You come in, you comment about my classroom, and then you like push my desk over a little bit. What are you doing?
no, I understand. You know, we used to host community groups at our home for a couple years, and I
Oh,
loved
God bless you.
Well, no, no, listen to me. So I loved people, okay, but they would get tea, right, and I'd find myself watching people because I have OCD too, but it's different than my husband's. But anyway, I would watch people take the tea bags out and like put it on a piece of napkin, and all I could think about was the fact that the tea was seeping through the napkin and would get onto the table, and so I would like get up in the middle of whatever anyone was doing, talking, we could be studying something, and I would pick it up, throw it out, and then I would come back, and then I would notice their cup was empty. And I would think, well, that cup needs to be cleaned. And I would just keep staring at it. And it got to the point where we wouldn't even finish the community group, and I would be cleaning everything, and I would be like moving people over, and I'd be like, excuse me, like, I just need to get this crumb. And the person's like, where's the crumb? And I could see the minuscule thing. And they'd be like, I don't see it. And I like, and I knew I was making people uncomfortable. And it's something to this day that I still work on of like I will tell people, I am so sorry. I am being very rude right now. I just cannot stop staring at the crumb or the misplaced, you moved my pillow around and that I don't like it that way. And I will tell my husband, we'll walk into the house and I'll tell him, I feel like the house is dirty. And he's like, our house is the cleanest house in this entire state. And I'll be like, no, no, no. Like, I feel the grime. And he's like, what grime are you talking about?
No, I've got friends who are allergic to cats who can come over to my house. They're like, I have one cat now, but at times when I've had two cats, like they come over and they're like, I don't have any allergies over here. It's like so clean. So like there's the pluses and minuses. I've also had a cleaning lady quit on me. Uh,
Oh,
I
no.
res- I respect her, but she was like, you just do all the cleaning before I come. So, like, but there's still some for you to do. Like, I just don't want you to come over to a dirty house.
So good. It's so true. I love it.
Yeah. So, like, my OCD is very, very organized, very
But don't you
clean.
find it also sometimes taxing? Like, I find myself not being able to rest. I do, because I'm thinking about what's not done.
I mean,
This is probably where the snowflake comes in. Maybe you have a different way of
yeah.
reacting to it.
I think it's like it's probably maybe a mix of the anxiety. Like, I'm always want to go. I'm always busy. Uh, I mean, I'm you you saw me a little bit on the camera before we decided not to do it. But
Or the computer decided.
yeah, um, I'm 51 and I am still like nonstop busy going. But I'm also very healthy, and I like do a lot of that stuff um for my sanity. But like, I believe it also helps with my Tourette, tics, anxiety, and all of that. I'm gluten free, dairy free, pescatarian. Um, so I'm healthy, but like I always am on the go. I'm always doing something. Um, I remember at one point, um, like I just bought my condo like a year and a half ago. I had a friend staying with me for a little bit while she was looking to buy her place. And every weekend, like I'd wake up and she'd wake up and she's like, "What are you going to organize today?" Like, "Well, I've got my list." And it was like I reorganized something every day. Like I just did it, but I think I can do it a little bit better this time.
Yep.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, I've got the clean and organized and germaphobe OCD, but I've got the number OCD. Um, I don't know why this is the one that's popping in my head, but my deodorant has to be 7 swipes um, per armpit. Um, yes, listeners, that's where I went. I went to the deodorant. Um, I used to smoke, but I packed the cigarettes 7 times on each 7 sides, or like so it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 7 times.
Wait, Sep, I'm sorry, say that's hard for me to understand. What does that mean?
So envision a pack of cigarettes.
Okay.
So like people pack their cigarettes.
Okay.
So it's just like tapping it on your hand, the whole pack. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Right.
Flip it around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Flip it around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Until I did it 7 times.
I see. Okay.
Um, and yeah, there's another thing um, but I think it's much more of just like overly organized cleaning, straightening things. Um, I'm actually sitting here right now looking at my whole place, making sure everything is in the right place.
No, yeah, no, I understand that. I think it's so it's crazy because I don't know if you've heard of it, but they recently have come out with this, I don't know, what do you call them again? They're like live they're like TV shows, but they're like supposed to be happening in real life. Like it's like a live um
Live reality show type thing.
right. Do you know, and I'm talking like the Balin it's called Valen Out Loud or something, and it's
Oh,
about
I've heard of
yes, and it's about the young girl who has very extreme Tourette. So she has the cursing, she has the full body tics. So it's a very and she started her journey by going viral for a video that she was talking about her Tourette's. And I really at first liked this. I was like, this is great that people are bringing awareness to this. I think the hard part for me is as it started going into a second season, it started getting really dramatized. And everything was like and then I started feeling less like this was a real person and more like I was watching a show, which I don't mean this to offend her or anyone at all because I know she has this. I know it's real. But it just started becoming more far removed because I'd look at my husband. He's living his life. He's driving his car to work. He's coming home. He's doing his school. He's being a husband to me. He's caring for friends. Like it's not dramatic. It's living his life with Tourette's, and you'll see him blink, you'll see him do this, but he's just living his life. It's not dramatic. And it was just interesting to me how it almost desensitized me to it the more I watched it because it just seemed like a show, you know?
that was also the thing, especially with doing all of my writing, screenplays and everything. My screenplay tick did get optioned 4 times. To have something optioned, production company says, yes, we're interested in it. We're like, they give you a chunk of money. Um, and while they shop it around to other studios, they semi own it. Uh, a lot of times, like, yes, we love this. We want to option it. Can you make it a little bit more funny? Can you make it a little bit more drama? And like, you've got to rewrite it and everything. Um, that was always my problem where they wanted it overly done.
Hmm.
And I did not want to go there. Like trying to keep it very 100%. Like this is how it is. Um, I don't know this specific person you were talking about that show, but I do see a lot of um, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, um, Tourette people um, who I feel are like over dramatizing it somewhat. Um, it could be how it is actually in their life, but I feel, yeah, if you do it a little bit more, maybe you get some more followers. I don't know. So I like that's one thing I've really just tried keeping it 100% keeping it what it actually is. What I wanted, like did a day in the life of Tourette syndrome. It shows many different versions of Tourette. Excuse me. That's partially my tics and partially just the voice from still being sick.
You're good.
Um, but And like even at the end of the book, I did a brief, a day in the life of myself. Um, and then I also actually, uh, 52 weeks of TS. I did a blog back in maybe 2014, I think it was, um,
Mm.
where I did a blog for 52 weeks. So it was really 52 weeks of myself, um, which was very like it was great. It was very therapeutic for myself. It was very well received. Actually, the um, New Jersey Center for Tourette Syndrome syndicated it a couple years later, and they like every week they put out um, a new blog from the actual blog.
Hmm.
But yeah, just like keeping it exactly because as I discussed earlier, there's so many misconceptions. I don't want to feed into those misconceptions. I want to keep it real, what this actually is.
But that's the crazy thing is like, I remember, I don't know how many years ago this was, but 60 Minutes came out with a interview about a woman who had severe Tourette's. I mean, it was the worst case they had ever found, right? And they then did an interview on it. You're watching it, you're fascinated, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is insane." And I know those exist, but it's so interesting because when you just sit down with someone who lives with Tourette's, but you're talking about like the 90% majority that actually have a less severe, but it's still considered severe, but it's not the severe you see on TV. It's like it's so it's so cool to get to hear their stories and connect. And like it doesn't make it less valuable because it's less dramatic. And it's very interesting how, like talking with you, like you're telling me you're clearing your throat and it's not very dramatic. I'm sorry, your tick isn't very dramatic. But it's what you live with and it's your life story and it's what you go through. And it's just interesting to think about it in that perspective as opposed to just zooming the camera up on a really bad attack that happens once. If people watched me with my anxiety, it would be the most boring show. People would start going, "Why does this girl not get over herself? Why does she keep doing this?" Like, but that is life. That's the interesting thing, but it's taking the time to hear that and listen to that story instead of watching that 5 minutes of segment of, an extreme case, which isn't discounting that case, but at the same time, like you said, we just all think that's how it goes down. Um, so, I'm really grateful that you took the time to talk with me, and I'm glad now that you said this that the camera didn't work because I'm glad you're more relaxed as you can be with this.
I mean, I think I still would have been more relaxed um, if if the camera was working, if the audio was working. I probably wouldn't have been so stressed um, if it went smoothly and we just got on and for some odd reason the mics worked. I don't know what happened, but
But, it's okay. It worked out just a different way. We snowflaked it. This is a different type of way of doing the podcast. We're almost making the point by doing it this way. But Troy, thank you so much. And I'm going to make sure for listeners, I will have the title of his book. He has a website. Um, I definitely encourage you to read it, encourage you to look at his work. And he did mention screenwriting. He has done that. That's on his website as well. Um, but Troy, this has been a real gift. And I'm really grateful. Thanks for talking with me.
thank you. It was nice to actually express and explain um, in this forum for not just like a Tourette forum, actual podcast going out to however many listeners you have, but coming out of that like little Tourette world.
Well, you're still a person.
Yeah.
I would hope, unless you're kidding me here and you're like a bot or something. Yeah. All right, Troy. Well, you have a good night. Thank you again.